would like to start by acknowledging how, as we are here in the sanctuary right now, our kids are being taught these principles in our Sunday school, and right now our Spanish service is taking place. And I want to send my blessing over there because, you know, the Spanish ministry is my new baby, and I'm leaving the baby with, Omar, who's I'm sure will do a great job today. Everybody's welcome. If you speak Spanish or not, or a little, you're always welcome to stop by if you ever feel moved to experience unity in a different way. So it's been 5 years that I'm in this position as the associate minister at this beautiful church, Unity of the Triangle. And when I was like a year into my job, I remember I went to visit the Susan G. Komen office that happened to be in the same street as us in the Longview Center. And I had gone in to let them know that I was a breast cancer survivor and Hispanic woman, if there would be anything I could do for them to let me know. And a month went by, and I remember it was a Monday, early afternoon, and when you come to the office and you do your to-do list, so I had a really big to-do list for that day. When I had started the job, I remember I can get so immersed into my job that I told myself, Anna, people will always come first, especially as a minister, right? So it was early afternoon on this Monday, and I get a phone call from the Susan G. Komen, the Hispanic director, and she said, there's this girl from Mexico who hardly speaks English, and she was just diagnosed with breast cancer, and it's a mess, and I would love to see if you could see her. And of course, I said, yeah, ask her to come. She came by this big sanctuary we used to have, and I remember we saw one another and we hugged for 2 good minutes, and she started to cry. And as we detached from one another, I remember I was guided to say to her, I feel your pain, I have compassion for you, but I'm not going to have pity. Because this can be a really rewarding and beautiful experience. We went into the green room. We spent 2 good hours, and she shared her life story with me. And from that point on, a beautiful friendship started. And today I would like to sort of like base my talk in her life story. Of course, I asked for permission. I recorded a show this morning. This morning was her, she's been out there, and she graciously said yes. She's in the Spanish group right now, but her name is Leticia, and I was moved to share her story because, for many reasons, and another of the reasons is that her story is the story of many of the people who have immigrated into this country, and the people that I serve when I'm doing a lot of bilingual weddings in the community. Almost every weekend I'm doing a bilingual wedding. And it's not uncommon to see how many of these ladies who are getting married, or for the same time, whatever, they said, my kid is back in Mexico or in any other country. So I was really moved to share this story. You're going to soon see a picture. And Leticia, in her 20s, I had this son. And when the son turned to be 5, she could not afford it. And she knew that it was a difficult case, so she decided on coming to the U.S. and going through what many people there go through coming in. And she shared her story. It's not about how she came in, but believe me, it's heartbreaking. And it took her days, and she was even abandoned in the desert by herself. But ultimately, she made it, and she has created a life for herself here, and she's been good. She's thrived, and she had been able to support her kid all through this year. It's been like 19 years. And proudly, she tells me that Eduardo, her son, is about to graduate from the university with a philosophy degree. And it's really amazing. I mean, amazing in itself. But when she shared her stories about the people, the neighbors' kids who have not made it because they got themselves involved in the drug cartels, and they get murdered early in life, to see her kid, her son, without really, being raised by the grandmother and her aunt, but not her, and just to see him thrive like this, it's an amazing story. However, this Eduardo has really harbored a lot of resentment towards the U.S. It's like that country who took you away. And there's been a lot of judgment towards her as to why you left me, why you abandoned me. But something happened this year, and this is what really motivated me to bring this story, is that when he turned 24, she wrote him a poem. And one day I remember I was talking to her, and she said, Ana, can I read the poem that I wrote for Eduardo? When I heard that, I said, I'm sorry, Leticia, I'm going to use that sometime because it's beautiful. I would like to share that poem with you, which I translated. I just left a line in Spanish just for seasoning. It says, time has gone by so fast. Today, 24 years ago, I had you inside of me for 9 months. When the doctor brought you into my arms, seeing your face for the first time, having the blessing of singing your first lullabies, so much has happened all through these years. I can still hear your voice whispering, Mommy. When the Creator gave me the blessing of being a mom, I could never imagine how big that love could be. Oh, your first day of school, your first written letters, and today you are my walking encyclopedia. My baby, my child, my man, that piece of heaven that God, Father, Mother gifted me with. I may have failed you for not having been close to you, but now I can really see. There's always a higher purpose for it all. So many years, so many stories to tell, so many caresses put away in a trunk, filled with kisses, filled with longings, hopes, dreams. I know the day will come where it will all be expressed fully and freely. What a blessing will it be? I embrace you, my child, from the deepest of my soul. You are my biggest treasure. God blesses you. Dios te bendice, hijo querido. I will love you for all of eternity, Mama. After almost 20 years, something miraculous happened. And he said, Leticia's capacity to be fully present to her emotion and her heart really triggered in Eduardo, in a holy instant, the realization that she really didn't abandon him. She had done an act of great unconditional love. It's a miracle, because a miracle is when we walk away from a consciousness of fear into a consciousness of love and acceptance. The Course in Miracles says, I love it, it's so relevant, miracles rearrange perception and place all levels in true perspective. Miracles represent freedom from fear. So she healed from cancer. But this is like 4 years ago, I was part of that journey. And it was really inspiring to see how she was so open. I said, you could use affirmations. She would say affirmations. Come to the circle. We have a prayer circle, guided meditation in Spanish every Wednesday night. She would do that. She's been doing that every single Wednesday, nonstop. I mean, she might not come once in a while, but being fully present there. And all this healing, all this spiritual healing and release and acceptance and liberation from judgment has really not only led to the healing of cancer, but to her son's awakening. And that's the way it is. And I love to quote Jesus and John 12:32, that says, "As I'm lifted up from the earth, will draw all people or all men into myself." And that's what happens, and that's what happened to Leticia. As she was able to be at peace with herself, to accept what is, to love what is, and she triggered that in her son. It might have taken a while, but it happened. And like she says, no jewel in the world, no other gift in the world has meant what that kid did for me when he set me free and just realized that I was innocent, right? I really believe that motherly love and divine love, mirror one another. And Yogananda has a beautiful quote about that, and I would like to read for you as you read too. Don't you love this? God, as Divine Mother, ever watches over her children, peeping through the caring hearts of all true mothers. God's unconditional mercy is expressed in the mother. The mother's instinctive love and forgiveness, no matter what her child has done, shows us that God will ultimately forgive. That is what I like to relate to God, not as the grim deity of some prophets, but as the Mother Divine waiting to forgive all and take them all back. We still question. We question divine love the same way that Eduardo questioned motherly love. Because not every time our life circumstances might reflect what we label as good or positive, and then we question that love. And it's like in moments like that where we might experience pain, instead of maybe pain being the doorway for some newer thing or new understanding, pain can make us vulnerable to untruth and to our sometimes default thinking that something went wrong, or I'm really separate, or sometimes the same way that Eduardo created this perception that, I was abandoned. I couldn't help but think of the poem Footprints in the Sand, a beautiful poem that we see the two sets of footprints on the sand where everything seems to be okay, but when it's not, it's like this perception that I've been walking by myself, and I would like to read the last part of that poem. But I noticed that during the saddest and most troublesome times of my life, there was only one set of footprints. I don't understand why, when I needed you the most, you would leave me. Never ever during your trials and testings. No, he whispered, you would leave me. And then God, or the divine, said, my precious child, I love you. I will never leave you. Never ever during your trials and testings, when you saw only one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you. But sometimes default thinking, we go, bummer, something went wrong, this was not supposed to happen. We question that. But in our Christ thinking, it's all meant to take you to a deeper place in your own awareness. It can be gloomy, yes. It can be difficult, yes. It can be confusing, yes. But is it bad? No. And I found another quote on Yogananda on the gloom part. He says, gloom is but the shade of the Divine Mother's hand outstretched caressingly. I hope I said it correct. Did I? Okay, good. Don't forget that. Sometimes when the mother is going to caress you, a shadow is caused by her hand before it touches you. So when trouble comes, don't think that she's punishing you. Her hand overshadowing you holds some blessing as it reaches out to bring you near to her. But our inability to see that even our greatest hardships are really an act of love, and that sounds like contradictory. How can this be an act of love? But we must go deeper, and that's what I realized, that at some level it doesn't feel like true. But as we transcend and tap into our divine wisdom, the divine wisdom will really guide you and remind you that it's really all okay, that it's still, that you're being loved no matter what. And I was sharing this morning how I experienced that in the midst of the cancer experience, going away from home, finding 2 years of really a lot of difficulty. But I remember already being here in the Triangle area, and one day, it was like a wisdom download in me that really made me realize, Anna, you've been carried all along. It's been your perception of otherwise. So, like, I have a quote from, no, not yet. Oh, Maya Angelou, I went blank. There is no place where God is not. No place, no circumstance, no situation where God is not. And nothing is ever meant to harm us or hurt us. Everything, like Napoleon Hill says, every adversity has the seed of a greater benefit. The only thing is that we need to claim it. Just like when we go to Walmart or Target and we claim our defective and we go, no, I'm not I'm not satisfied with this product. We must do the same. Claim it. See it. And the way that I really feel that we can see it, it's like when we really fall into that divine wisdom that is part of our Christ nature, that opens the visibility to something that not necessarily from another perspective we will be able to see. So Eduardo didn't have all the criteria because of, being a kid, there's so much you can see. And it's just like us. We might not have the spiritual maturity to see the depth of what's happening to us. And I see it, it really, I couldn't help but get my heart so open to think from Letitia's perspective, to be so willing to risk the love of your child and being judged or rejected, maybe risking not ever seeing. That was what really, her biggest fear going through the cancer experience was to contemplate the possibility that I might take off. I might die and never see my kid again. But love was more than all of that, because love is about unconditionality. It's about thinking, what does my son need? And he was provided for, and he, just like her, decent human being who's thriving. My friend Julie, Reverend Julie, she's a good friend of mine, unity minister. I remember many times she would look at me and say, Anna, remember, children become who you are, not what you tell them. I have a picture of her and my children there. Not of what you tell them or what they need to do, who you are, how you live your life. And I see it so beautiful there because Eduardo has become who Letty is, right? A responsible, caring, hardworking person that actually philosopher. Isn't that amazing? A philosopher. So through this whole experience of love, through my friend Letty, I have really connected, and I hope I'm helping you connect to the divine feminine, that aspect of divinity that Mary was telling us about, the nurturing, the kind, the graceful, the unconditional, the completely accepting. And I tell myself in my inner conversation, it's like at the end of everything, it's really about love. And not only being loved, but knowing that we are loved at all times. If we are seeing something else, we're not seeing right, because we are so loved. I happened to be yesterday afternoon in Durham in a meeting with a group of people who are followers. I don't know what term to use of Ram Dass. Many of you know Ram Dass, an American spiritual teacher. And he talks a lot about loving awareness. And they were sharing a story of Ram Dass back in the 70s, where he's with with his guru, Mahariji, and they are really wondering about how can we have a productive, or what would be the best spiritual practice. And the guru didn't say much initially. And after a while he said to them, meditate like Jesus. And they looked at one another and like, yeah. And I guess that Ram Dass asked Mahariji, how did Jesus meditate? And Mahariji closed his eyes, inhaled, and a tear came down. And then his words were, Jesus would lose himself in the love of God. Can you connect with that vision of the Christ presence, immersing himself in that experience of divine love? And that is the love of the Mother. That is the aim of our spiritual practice. It's all about really letting that loving awareness in you be it, and protect you from your own perceptions that are not really true. So on this Mother's Day, it is my aim that you may remember to unveil that illusion of separation, of lovelessness, and that in spite of what you have told yourself, or have interpreted certain experiences in your life, that you do remember that you, and I'm going to say it 3 times, that you are loved, and that you are loved. Say it again. I'm going to say it in first person. I am loved, and I am love. Let's make it plural. We are loved, and we are love. And it is love that sustains us here. I have seen, the ups and downs of any ministry, especially financially. And love takes over because we are a loving community. And we love this place for what it represents. I couldn't live my life without unity. Unity is like my core. It's like the gift to this world. And we are a gift to this world. But remember that it's all about love. And in knowing that, with every fiber of our being, we will find freedom and happiness. Just like I think Eduardo and Leticia had a chance to experience, love set them free. Non-judgment, kindness, understanding. So why don't we just end with a prayer, and let's do it the Jesus way. We will meditate like Jesus. So I hope you can join me at this moment as we also connect with the Christ presence. Allow yourself a moment to be. To stretch your loving awareness. And listen to these words from the Course in Miracles. No one who sincerely wants to find truth can experience failure. So let's strive to find that reality, that awareness of love, by realigning ourselves with truth. And do this prayer with me. I ask that I might be shown a different world and to have different thoughts from those I created. And then observe your mind for a moment. And contemplate the unreal world you have believed as real. And become aware of the thoughts that might be compatible with that unreal world you have created for yourself. And let them all go now. And even better, move beyond to reach to that sacred place where these thoughts cannot infiltrate anymore. You might find a door and be willing to open. And remember that no one who has sincerely looked for truth can experience failure. So today is what's being asked of us, that we might be willing to open the door to truth, to that loving awareness. Nothing else matters as much. What is outside that door is not as important as what is inside. And as you go inside, find that light that you are. Maybe angels are celebrating with you, and all darkness is dissolved. And in truth, you realize that you have not forgotten fully. You now remember with full clarity as you come back to the here and the now. We readjust to a new experience of beauty, love, and freedom. And new possibilities show up as this veil of separation, drama, and untruthfulness is lifted. You are loved and you are loved today, tomorrow, and forevermore. Amen.